Hello and welcome. My name is Ugo. Thanks again for joining me on this edition of Clear Thinking Digest. We've been discussing the skill of control as one of the most important factors or skills that you need, cognitive skills that you will need in order to get to the top 1% of your career. And I've mentioned in the last videos, I've talked about areas where you need to exercise full control. I've talked about exercising control over your skill. I've talked about exercising control over your work. But this doesn't tell the whole story about control and how it's important and the need it needs to feel for you to get to the top 1% of your career. There is the final factor, and that is what I'm going to be discussing in this video. If you've been following this series, you would understand that I've mentioned time and again that for you to really succeed in life, for you to achieve the level of success that you need to get you to the top 1% of your career, that the only thing you need is intelligence. And this comes with a lot of pushback, because when I say this, people, validly lay out the claim that for you to really succeed in life, intelligence doesn't cut it all. That you also need environment, which is a crucial aspect of attaining success in everything you're doing. If you're obviously not in the right environment, if you're obviously hampered by your environment, then you're not going to achieve the level of success that you need. And this is true because we are products of our environments. But the real thing that comes with this question is that when you understand the full ramification, what I've defined as intelligence, and then you understand, if you've been following the series, you understand how I've defined the skill of control, then you would come to a full grasp of what I mean by when I say that intelligence is the only thing that you need to succeed in life. So let me bring this to perspective. Every environment has within it the seeds of becoming. And then these seeds of becoming are the fundamental, foundational ground that lays the seeds of opportunity that you would need to succeed in everything that you're doing. If you understand how to leverage these seeds of opportunity that are in every environment, then you would find it very easy to succeed, irrespective of the environment that you find yourself. And that is where the skill of control comes in. So when I say that intelligence is the only thing that you need to succeed in life, I actually mean it. And it's actually true. You don't need environment to succeed. What you need is intelligence. And what do I mean by that? Because for you to succeed in any environment, for any environment to become beneficial to you, you need to have the requisite skills in order to leverage the seeds of opportunity that have been sown in that environment. These seeds of opportunity cannot be harnessed if you have not harnessed that skill and the capability in order to leverage on these seeds of opportunity that are in environments. And for you to leverage these seeds of opportunity that exist in your environment, you would need the skill of control. And in this video, I'm going to be exploring how you can be deploying the skill of control in your environment. So to understand how to go about this, we need to understand what an environment is all about in the first place. An environment is simply any condition that is necessary for you to produce an outcome. Environment is not necessarily a place or a location, even though it includes that. But it's all about any condition that is necessary for you to produce an outcome. And when we talk about producing outcomes, I'm talking about producing results that you need. So if you need an outcome B, the conditions that are necessary to produce the outcome B, if those conditions are A and C, if you can orchestrate, if you can put in place the A and C, then you can produce the outcome B. So for you to produce the outcome B, what you need is not necessarily the outcome B, because the outcome B would be the environment, which will be what you need. It will be the results that you seek. You don't need B, outcome B, to produce outcome B. For you to produce outcome B, what you would need is the skill to organize A and C to give you the outcome B. If you can develop the skill to organize A and C, then automatically you can produce the outcome B that you're looking for. So what you need is not the right environment, in quotes. What you need is the skill to organize the factors that are in place in order to produce the right environment. So no environment comes already made. Every environment comes with a plethora of seeds of opportunities. That is what environment comes with. An environment comes with plethora of opportunities that are neutral. It is now incumbent on you as a rational thinking human to take these plethora of opportunities and then convert them into meaningful results that is going to lead to your success. So to illustrate how this manifests itself in the basic nature of life, let's go a little bit into biology. In biology, there's the concept of genotype, and genotype simply means the set of genetic traits that come together to make up who you are, that's become expressed in form of your gene, which now go on to determine the features that you're going to have. Now, there's another concept that is called phenotype, and then your phenotype actually means the observable traits that you have, the physical observable traits that you have. For example, your eye color, your height, your blood type, all of these factors, these physical traits that you have that are observable, these are what we refer to as phenotype. Now, what actually produces your phenotype is a combination of your genotype, which are genetic, the internal traits that you have that are embedded into your DNA, your genotype, and then your environment. It's a combination of these two factors. But none of these factors on themselves can produce your phenotype. Your environment only cannot produce your phenotype. And your genotype in and of itself cannot produce only your phenotype. So your phenotype is a combination of your genotype and your environment. When they come together, the interaction between these two factors, they now produce the physical traits, the physical features that you have. So think of the results that you want in life as your phenotype. And then think of the A and C that I talked about as the combination of your genotype and your environment. So what it means is that for you to produce the results that you need as your phenotype, the traits that you need, that are going to help you to scale through life, that are going to help you to achieve the level of success that you need, you will need the skill to combine the factors of your genotype and your environment. And this law operates at the very basic level of life, which is biology. And it goes ahead to manifest itself in the final results that you see in every aspect of life. But there is an important question that really comes up whenever the talk of environment and intelligence comes up. And that is the question of, what if the environment that I exist in doesn't support who I have become? Or what if the environment that I exist in doesn't give me the opportunity to express myself in the way that I wish to do that? But that begs the question, because when you talk about who you have become, which is a final product, a produce, if you are the product of your environment, what it means is that whoever you have become, or whatever you have become, is actually a direct reflection of your environment, is a product of your environment. So you cannot become anything that is outside from what your environment has made you. So that begs the question. It automatically means that whatever you are, whatever you have become, is a result of the factors and the forces your environment has produced. So what it means is that when you think that your environment doesn't give you the necessary equipment or the necessary resources to succeed, think again. Because if your environment is what has produced who you are, what it automatically means is that the resources that you need to manifest fully who you are actually in your environment. The only problem is that you have not looked closely. or you cannot see those resources. And as a result, you lack the capability to harness these resources. So in this case, the real problem that you're facing is not actually your environment. It is actually your mindset. It's actually the lack of the skills that you need to produce the outcome that you need from your environment. But to explore this question even more deeply, there are 3 options that people usually take, and which you can take when you feel that your environment doesn't support you. The first option is to do nothing, to take the path of least resistance and do nothing, or to resign to fate. You say, there's nothing I can do. And in that case, you cannot manifest the full potentials, the full capacities, and the full potentials that are embedded in you. The second option is for you to change your environment, to actually relocate to another environment that you deem that will give you the best results, or that will help you to manifest who you are. But the problem with this second step, this is a valid step that you can take, but the problem with this second step is that in reality, for you to really succeed in any environment that you find yourself, you will need to exercise full control over the forces and the elements that make up that environment. Let's say you travel from Nigeria and then you go to the United States and you want to establish yourself there. You think you have the skills, the capabilities, and that environment is what supports who you have become. And then you go to the United States. For you to really establish yourself in the United States, you would need control. And by that I mean you will need access to resources. You will need access to people. You will need access for you to the basic resources in that environment with which you can use to manifest who you are. So if you get to the United States, but you don't have a work permit, can you fully exercise who you are? Can you fully, is that environment, does it really support your capability to express who you are? What if you get to the United States, but you don't know the right people to connect you to the right resources that you would need to manifest yourself? You would be living in abundance, but you would not have access to that abundance. So irrespective of where you find yourself, whether in your own environment that you think doesn't support who you have become, or you relocate to another environment where you think that the resources exist to help you manifest yourself, you would still need control irrespective of the environment that you find yourself. So I think the most important thing is not really about the environment, but it's about the skill to establish control irrespective of the environment that you find yourself. So this takes me to the last option, and which I think is the best option that is suited for you to achieve success. And that is about taking control of the environment where you grew up in, or where you are born and bred. And the reason why I support this view is, if you find yourself in any environment that you are, the environments that you grew up in, environments where you are born and where you have developed, where you grew up in, offers you the best opportunity for you to harness your full potentials. Because whoever it is that you have become in the course of your life or in the course of your career is a direct reflection or a product of the environment that you find yourself. And so you are better suited, you have the best chances of establishing control in the environment that has molded you. Because if your environment molded you to become a lawyer, molded you to become an engineer, it means that you know people in that environment. You know, you have access, you have a considerable level of access to resources in that environment. You understand the terrain of that environment enough for you to achieve success quicker than when you relocate to a new environment where you would need to take time to establish full control over the people there and over the resources there for you to achieve the level of success that you need. So if you need success, if you want to achieve success quicker, faster, and intelligence is all about interpreting the word accurately and faster. If you need this, then you would need, I think you are better suited if you stay in the environment that you are and then develop and then try as much as possible to develop the skill of control that will now enable you to access the resources in that environment. This is the best option that I think anybody can use to get to the top 1% of their career. So I think it's fair enough to say that you now understand that for you to achieve success in an environment, that what you need is the ability to control the forces in that environment. And the reason why people leave their environments and travel to another environment to seek greener pastures is because they lack what I call the three basic necessities for the growth of life. These three basic necessities are what allow you to exercise full control over your environment. And they are your ability to learn, your ability to become, and your ability to create. These are the three most important, they are the three most fundamental criteria that you need for you to exercise full control over your environment. If you don't have the capacity, if you don't have the ability to learn in an environment, if you don't have the ability to become, if you don't have the ability to create, then you wouldn't have any access to resources, any access to that environment automatically becomes useless for you. And then you would seek to leave that environment to go to another one. To understand what I mean by this, let me explore more on these three concepts, just briefly. The capacity to learn, the ability to learn. Learning is about receiving signals, interpreting those signals, and then changing based on those signals that you've received, or based on the information or the interpretation that you've gotten. If you lack the capacity to receive signals from the environment, interpret those signals from the environment, and then change based on that information, then you would find it difficult to survive. As a matter of fact, no species, no life form can survive without the ability to undergo this process. And the matter of fact, we learn every moment of our life. We are constantly learning, and we are constantly changing based on the information that we are getting from our learning process. That is the only way that any life form can exist and continue to grow in life. So remember, these are three basic necessities for the growth of life. So learning is a very important aspect of growth in life. And so if you live, let's say, in a military dictatorship, where you don't have access to information, where you don't have access to education, and in the kind of reality that we exist in our world today, you don't have access to the internet in order to source more information, communicate with people, and then grow from the information and the knowledge that you're getting from these resources. You're going to find it very difficult to learn and to grow. This is a basic example when I say that if you don't have access to learning, if you don't have the ability to learn, any environment that you exist in where the forces stifle your ability to learn, then that environment automatically suffocates your ability to grow and thrive. And you're not going to succeed in that environment. You would need to develop a rare skill in order to overcome this for you to thrive. The second is your ability to become. And this is your capacity to attain mastery through the process of learning. That's after you've gone through the process of learning, you need to change in your nature. You will need to become a new person from something you have learned. If you go through school, you will need to acquire certain skills that will allow you to become a different person for you to deliver the kind of service that you're going to need, that the society is going to require from you. So if you lack the capacity, if the environment that you exist in stops you, prevents you from learning, then automatically it's going to prevent you from becoming. So, or if you learn, if you find yourself in an environment where your learning process is distorted, in the sense that you go through school or you go through any learning process at all, but you don't get the full knowledge, you don't get the full resources that you need to become the kind of person that will command the value and the skills and the competencies that are required to serve the society or to provide a value, then you are not going to succeed. You're going to find it very difficult to exercise full control over your environment. So this is the second important factor that is key for you to exercise control over your environment. The third, and which is equally important, is your ability to create. You see, your ability to create is about developing the capability to modify the forces and the elements that make up your environment into your own hands. Your ability to control, to modify the forces in your environment into ends that serve your own objective. So if you go through a learning process, and after going through that learning process, you acquire the competence to become someone that can produce value, but you lack the capacity to express the value that you've acquired, to express the value, to express the knowledge that you have acquired, but then you're going to suffer from what I call intellectual constipation. Because this is a very important aspect for any person or any human being to fully live out their full potential. So you find that many people in different environments that they find themselves find it difficult to express themselves. They find it difficult to express what they have learned. And so in my country, Nigeria, you see this fully exemplified in the cases of the brain drain that we're suffering here. For example, you see students, after studying medicine, to travel out of this country and go to another country, let's say United States or the United Kingdom, where it's been established that majority of Nigerian doctors, saturate the market there. So you find that they travel from the Nigerian environment and they go to the United Kingdom or to the United States and they go there to practice what they have learned in their country. So what it means is that the environment have stifled their capacity to express, to create. And so because of this, they cannot establish full control over the environment. So irrespective of the environment that you find yourself, you will need the ability to learn, to become, and then to create for you to exercise control over the environment. Any environment that suffocates any of these three abilities undermines your ability to grow and automatically undermines the ability to get to the top 1% of your career. For you to exercise full control, sufficient control over your environment, you will need access to two important things. The first is access to a network of valuable people. Notice that what I mentioned is access to a network of valuable people, not just access to a network of people. Because it is important, the quality of the people that you have access to in your environment determines the quality of the resources that you'll be able to access, because one leads to another. This includes, it could be politicians, this could be industry leaders, this could be employees, it's basically any person that occupies strategically the positions of power, any person that occupies the positions of the means of production and distribution of resources in the society. So you want to make sure that you have access to these kinds of persons so that you will be able to leverage their network, the relationship, and build upon it to achieve more. Now, the whole point of valuable relationships with valuable people is about building credible relationships. And the principle of credible relationship is based on the fact that if you understand the fundamentals of it, is based on the fact that these relationships act like money. They are actually money in the sense that they allow you the access to basic resources. They give you access to resources. They give you access to things that money could have given you access to. So a very good example, if you are a very good friend to Elon Musk and you have a problem and you want to get, let's say, a very nice battery, a very durable battery, an electric vehicle that you could use, it is easier for you to get that electric vehicle or the battery or whatever service that he offers because of the relationship that you share with him. If you're a friend to Bill Gates and you want a malaria vaccine or a polio vaccine or a coronavirus vaccine, it is easier for you to access it because he's your friend. If you're a friend to Aliko Dangote and you want access to some of the things that he produces, like building materials, like foodstuffs and all of that, you stand at a better chance of having access to those things because he's your friend than when you go to the market to buy those things. As a matter of fact, the level of control that you have, the level of your wealth is determined by the number of things that you can acquire with minimal amounts of cash. If you need more cash to get your hands on resources that you need in the environment, then that actually goes to show that you don't have enough control in that environment. As a matter of fact, you're not rich enough. You're not wealthy enough. Because what determines wealthy people, what determines who are at the top 1% of their career, is that they have access to resources, even without cash. They have a lot of money that is not in cash. So they can access resources. They can control a lot of resources in their environment without having to expend with cash, without having to exchange cash for it. So you want to check the level of control you have in your environment by looking at the quality of relationship that you have with people and how easy it is for you to access resources without using too much cash. The second thing that you need to exercise sufficient control over your environment is access to resources. Of course, that's obvious, because if you don't have access to resources like the basic amenities that you need to succeed in life, you're not going to thrive in your environment. If you're in an environment and let's say you study medicine or you study practically any science or any work that you're engaged in, and after doing that, you don't have the resources to exercise what you've studied, then you're going to find it difficult to thrive in that industry. So you want to have 70% control over these resources so that you can actually exercise your full potential. As a matter of fact, any industry or any environment that you find yourself, for you to really thrive in that environment, you need access to 70%. You need to have control over 70% of the resources in that environment for you to really thrive, for you to get to the top 1% of your career in that area or in that environment. So for you to really establish this, you need access to resources, and it comes at a cost. For you to establish this, you have to be ready to serve. What do we mean by service here? To serve actually means to solve meaningful friction. Everything about service is about solving friction. In the society that we exist in, value is simply your ability to deliver solutions to friction points, to pain points that exist in the interaction of life forms, in the interactions of people. So if people are engaged, so in whatever sector, in whatever instances that people are having their activities, are navigating through life, if you are able to identify the friction points, the points of friction and the pain points, and you are able to deliver meaningful value that can take care of these frictions, then you will be able to establish control using your service. And then for you to effectively deliver service that will give you access to people, to the network that you need, and then access to these resources, you will need to utilize two important natural laws of service. And the laws I'm talking about here, the first is the law of compensation. The law of compensation is actually a restatement of the law of sowing and reaping. Yeah, that for whatever you sow, you reap. And if you want to reap, then you sow. It is actually based on the fact, on the law that value will always return back to its original source. If you give a value to the world will reward you. If you give a value to nature, then nature will reward you. If you give a value to people, then the people will become indebted to you and they will want to reward you. So there is an equal compensation that goes for every value that you put out in the world there. So you want to establish your skill. You want to establish enough control over your skill and enough control over your work so that you will be able to fully determine how you're going to dispense your value, and you can effectively use your value, the value that you're delivering to the market, to utilize this law of compensation to your own benefits. Now, the second, and which is equally important, is the law of increasing returns. This is an economic principle, and it actually states that as more and more units of a commodity are produced, the cost per unit goes steadily down. So what it actually means is that as you are producing a particular resource, let's say if you are producing, let's say, biscuits, and you produce more of those, let's say you produce 10 packets of biscuits, and the cost is 50 naira per unit for you to do that. When you produce even more packets of biscuits, then the cost will go down from, let's say, 50 naira to 20 naira. As you produce more, and it goes down from 20 to 10 to 5. So it's a basic law in economics that states that given an environment when all the necessary resources, all the necessary factors that are required to produce a particular thing is in place, that as you produce more, the cost per unit to produce each of those things goes down. So what it actually means is that the more you give, the more you receive. That's the basic principle there. The more you give out, the more you receive. So if you bring this down to the value that you're giving to the market in your service to people, if you bring it down to your service to people, you don't understand that if you follow this law of increasing returns, and then you give people more than they have asked for, you give people more than they have paid you for, that they have demanded for, or that they expect more, you are going to receive double of what you have given. So it's actually a way of establishing control over your environment, over the people and the resources that are there. So you want to find out people, the key and the strategic persons that are in your industry or in your work or in your environment who have access to the key resources that you need. And you want to go down and serve those people. Service here doesn't mean subservience or servile display of some kind of value or anything. What I mean here is using these laws of service, these natural laws of service, and then using them to establish control by making people become indebted to you by giving them more than they have asked for or more than they expect from you. So finally, one of the best ways that you can exercise full control over your environment is the new opportunity that our New World Order offers us. And that gives you the ability to create what I call environmental oasis. Now, what is environmental oasis? Environmental oasis is creating more like an echo chamber or an ecosystem that insulates you from your toxic environment. If you exist in an environment that is toxic to the kind of person that you want to become, and the kind of person, the kind of value that you want to create, or the kind of vision that you want to attain for yourself, then it is important that you create an environmental oasis as an echo chamber to insulate yourself from the negative effects that come from your immediate environment. So how do you do this? You do this using what I call analytical deductive process. This process allows you to identify the things that are not required in your environment, the things that you don't need, that actually go against who you want to become, that actually go against the kind of personality that you want to build. You identify all of these things, and then you replace them with their opposites. You replace them with what will actually build the kind of, help you build the kind of person you want to become. So this could be your friends. If you identify the toxic friends that are around you, you want to replace them with the right people who can serve as mentors and people who can help you to grow. And another example is this could be the church that you go to. You could find out that the church that you're going to, or the place of worship, your religion, doesn't offer you the best path towards achieving your journey to 1%, or towards achieving what you need in life. Then it's wise that you ditch that religion, and then you seek the path of better enlightenment that will help to take you to where you're going. So it could be the environment, it could be the people around you, it could be your religion, it could be your belief systems, it could be the educational system that you are in. Any of these factors you should identify them and then go ahead to replace them so that you can create that insulated space that will allow you to become the kind of person that you need. And this is achievable irrespective of the environment that you find yourself. I hope you did enjoy this edition of Clear Thinking Digests. feel free to go through my Facebook page and go through the archives if you've not been following this series, so that you can find the previous videos where I've been exploring the skills and the mindsets that you need to acquire in order to get to the top 1% of your career. In this series, I've explored the other two important control skills that you need in order to exercise full control over your skill, over your work, and over your environment. So feel free to go through the archive on Facebook and on YouTube, irrespective of the channel that you're using, to get access to these resources. Because for you to really understand this series, you need to follow through with the instructions as they come along. It's always a pleasure having you listen and watch this show, and I hope this helps you in your journey to 1% and in upgrading your intelligence to get to the top 1% of your career. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.